Hello and welcome. Today we will be talking a little bit about Tonbak drumming, which hails from Iran. The Tonbak is a small hand drum that is at the heart of the intense, fast-paced rhythms that are typical of Persian music. If you look up at the top of the screen, you will see some Perso-Arabic script. This is how Tonbak is spelled in Farsi, the official language of Iran. The origins of this drum date back as far as 2,000 years ago. This is at a time when the Persian Empire was spread all across the highlighted region on the map you see. Since its invention in ancient times, however, the Tonbak has seen much more complex development in recent history. Originally, the Tonbak was regarded as more of an instrument of accompaniment. It is thought to be derived from the zarb drum, which is used for keeping rhythm for concentration in the exercise practice of zurkana, which translates to house of strength. A zarb is bigger and made with a ceramic shell and is slightly higher pitched than a Tonbak. Take a look at an example of this in the next video. Zurkana is traditionally an exercise for men only, so you will see this reflected in the room that we see. Try to listen to the drum and watch how the men move in rhythm with it. The Tonbak developed a more refined sound with more merit as a solo instrument during the Qajar dynasty, which began in the late 18th century. In 1925, the Qajar dynasty was overthrown and Reza Shah took power. He brought with him an ambitious plan of modernization, including Western influences on culture and music that encouraged the development of new and traditional musics, including the Tonbak. Things changed again in 1979, but we will talk about that a little bit later. First, let's learn about the drum itself. Also, before we move on, note that the map on the bottom shows where Iran is located in modern day compared to the reaches of the Persian Empire. Tonbaks are made and tuned with the player's environment in mind because the drum is very sensitive to changing humidity. For example, if a player were to travel to a cold, damp climate, the drum would need to be tuned tighter to achieve the correct sound. The body of the drum is a wooden shell carved from a tree trunk. Walnut wood is the most popular, and it can take up to 3 years total to make one Tonbak because the wood must be dried for several months. Once the body has been carved, it is covered with the hide from a camel or a goat to make the top. To play the Tonbak, you hold it across your lap so it is easily accessible for your hands. The two main sounds that you make with this drum are actually spelled out in the name. Tom for the lower bass sound from the center of the drum, and bak for the higher pitched tone from the edge. The to sound is produced by striking the center of the drum with all of your fingers curved together. The bak sound is produced when you throw your middle or ring finger against the drum so that the finger joint strikes the edge. For both of these sounds, make sure to let your hand bounce right off the drum so that the sound will resonate. However, that's not all. In more recent years, Tonbak players have developed a much wider palette of additional techniques to use on the Tonbak. Take a look at this in this next video. Notice how fast this player is able to play and how he uses several different fingers and his whole hand to achieve different sounds. How amazing is that? It takes players like Javad from the video a very long time to be able to play with the speed and agility that this drum is known for. It takes rigorous training to become a Tonbak player, so many musicians start when they are young and are guided by a mentor. It is used both as a solo instrument as well as in ensembles with other Persian instruments. In 1979, however, there was an Islamic revolution that resulted in a theocratic state with Islam at the center of their government. This change entailed many new restrictions put on life in Iran, including restrictions on music. This halted the development of the Tonbak and other Persian instruments and musical genres. Though it has become somewhat less strict, there are still many restrictions in place to this day, particularly for women. Because of these strict laws, the Tonbak has not gained as much global popularity as many other prized percussion instruments around the world, so it is rarely played outside of Iran. Due to the restrictions, it is hard for Tonbak players to play for big concerts like one might expect a performance to look like from a Western perspective. However, young Tonbak players are taking advantage of social media. Some social media are not allowed, such as Twitter and Facebook, but Instagram is permitted, and this is where many young Tonbak players log on to share their skills with each other and the world. Take a look at this example from Instagram. The woman playing the Tonbak is Masa Nasajpour, playing with Mehran, who is playing the kamancha. That concludes our lesson on the Tonbak, but I hope you learned something new today that inspires you to go out and learn some more. Thank you for learning with me today.